Hey everyone, another spirited drop from the back seat of a taxi, and I'm coming home from my first full day of healing sessions since being in the UK, and there was a lot of releasing going on in my healing sessions today, and so I thought it was a bit of inspo to explain a little bit about how dissonant energy releases through the body during an energy healing session. So of course, I think most of you know I'm a Reiki master, so that's the energy modality that I use, and people come and see me for a whole variety of things. It can be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It can be just for guidance, it can be, I've got quite a few clients that are actually come and see me and they feel well, but they're just coming in for a grease and oil change. That's what we call it, a 12K service. But if someone comes in and they do have some kind of dis-ease in their system, which is presenting as an illness or as mental disquiet, or one of the functions of their system is disrupted, like they're not sleeping, for example, or they've got tummy issues, then what Reiki does is it harmonizes that dissonance. So a good energy healer thinks of everything in terms of energy. So all of our systems in our system, our mind, our body, they run to energetic patterns or programs, and when there's a disruption in that program energetically, we start to see symptoms of that. Our system starts to signal to us that there's a disruption or a dissonance, and then when Reiki goes in, it harmonizes that dissonance, and the system will naturally start to release it. And there's different ways that I've observed and that I teach that dissonant energy gets released. And so my first client today is this beautiful, very pretty, tiny Singaporean client who was belching and burping like a trooper on the healing table, because that's a very typical form of release. So it can be released, in the form of a sort of gas being released, if you like. Often I'll get farting as well. So farting and burping, that's one way. I think the most common way of dissonant energy getting released is through the emotional body, so through tears, and this can happen quite spontaneously too. So people will come into the healing rooms and might even start crying even before we've started the energy work, because I cleanse and activate the room before clients walk in. So they're already stepping into like a treatment even before my hands go on them. So crying, spontaneous sighing as well, even when the client falls asleep on the bed. So they might be fast asleep, but there'll be this spontaneous sighing. I had a lady only this afternoon as well who was moaning, which is another form of release too. And then not so often, but it does happen, there can be what we call a healing crisis. And this is where there's an exaggeration of the messaging or the symptom in the client's system for a day or two, and then it winds out of the system and it disappears completely. And the only time that I've seen that happen with me and one of my clients is with a skin condition, and it flared up really badly a day after the Reiki, and then it disappeared and it never came back. That's what we call a healing crisis, which I don't really like that term, because I don't think it's a crisis. I think it's just an extreme sports healing move of the body. So there's some of the typical ways that dissonant energy gets released from the system during or shortly after an energy healing session. I hope that's got you thinking. Okay, everyone, bye.